So, 2019 is over halfway done and the decade is coming to a close. I feel for the first full decade of music and the internet age where the art form has changed so much, not only in the music, but things from its audiences, to its commentators, to its trends, the how and what is successful.
Congratulations, Mr. Krabs.
Hello, I like money.
What inspired you to build a second Krusty Krab right next door to the original?
Money.
I thought I would make one big send-off to the past 10 or so years. This 4-part list is my personal opinion of the top 20 best hit songs of the 2010s decade. The rules are simple. Each song had to have had a spot on any year-end list any time between 2010 and last year. And yeah, I'm not including 2019 hits because the year isn't over yet and I want to do a proper worst and best list toward the end of the year without any potential spoilers. Considering this list has just under 900 candidates, I'm pretty certain you'll disagree with quite a few of these. That or you just totally forgot about them. Because yeah, just a heads up, a lot of stuff like Uptown Funk and Despacito are nowhere close to this list. Some of these tracks weren't too big outside their own respective years, and they've stuck with me ever since then. So let's start off with...
From Cape Canaveral, MK, Big Sack, let's rap. Back in time. Watch out, oh watch out, yeah. I smash out, yeah.
When Post Malone hit the scene in 2016, it seemed like he'd fade away as a no-name one-hit wonder. But then he evolved his one-note sound into something with a bit more effort and atmosphere, and oh, he's one of the biggest stars in the game now. Rockstar was a huge #1 smash, and he's had massive success since. His albums are admittedly pretty inconsistent, but the highs are very high, and I personally like quite a few of his singles, with his simple, chill vibes and his weird but charming goat-like vocal inflection. His words, not mine, by the way. But out of all of his singles, there's only one that stuck out as the true highlight to take this spot.
Now they always say congratulations. Work so hard, forgot how to vacation.
This song feels like a timeless celebration. It truly captures what it feels like during that special moment of finally achieving something you've been working at for so long, as you finally made it, and the world and everything around it just fades into the background with you and you only in the center of it all. Is it arrogant? Yeah, a lot. But it's boastful and dismissive in the best possible way. It's all about that fleeting moment where you feel like you're on top of the world, which on its own may sound like a lame excuse to be a prick, but when put to song, it completely transcends any flaws this song may have had. The production sounds absolutely gorgeous, which is unsurprising considering it's one of countless fantastic tracks produced by Metro Boomin, and this will not be the last time he's seen on this list. The rugged yet delicate backing synth supporting the magic of the floaty and cloudy-like sound at the front of the melody creates a breathtaking atmosphere.
If you fuck with winning, put your lighters to the sky. How could I make sense when I got millions on my mind?
And Post Malone's soft and lush vocals give it the perfect touch of happiness mixed with melancholy and reflection upon what it took to get to this point. And yeah, sure, most of the lyrics are just about how great he is, but like I said, it truly feels like a deserved victory lap. The hook is not only amazing on its own, but it also perfectly captures the vibe of this song, giving it insanely good replay value as the tone never runs itself stale. And even Quavo, who usually has pretty stagnant guest verses, just totally shatters my expectations here. Not really for any complex reason either, it's just he matches the tone of this song so fittingly that it just clicks without a second thought. There's a reason Post got this to be the 10th biggest hit song of 2017, because it lives up to its name. Congratulations, you earned it.
Miami equals
rolling, not a stop. Watch shit don't never stop.
Drake. The man, the meme, the legend. Being quite possibly the most successful musician in history, the guy nearly spent 10 years in a row on the Hot 100. And the only reason that didn't happen is because even his diehard fans were starting to get sick of him. So we took a short break before being literally inescapable for the entire year, ruling the charts with an iron fist for the second time. Yeah, Drake is huge in a way that very few people have matched. And with such a huge discography, Drake has proved to be absolutely average. Yeah, the good and bad balance each other out. It feels like he never truly reaches his peak and is constantly humiliating himself in his music in addition to constant filler, but he also never falls off as he's a super talented guy who always has another trick up his sleeve. But despite that, I knew exactly what track of his would make this list from the get-go.
I've asked about you and they told me things, but my mind didn't change. I still feel the same.
Also, it's a duet, which I think is a good fit for Drake, especially here. Not only does it delude his often cringeworthy ego, but it also lets him express his talents and adaptability in a much more effective way. And speaking of adaptability, Rihanna really knocked it out of the park here.
Here's what I'll do. I'll take care of you.
I've never heard her in such a fragile and sultry state of emotion. Her presence on this song is awe-inspiring. There's an unprecedented amount of chemistry here, not just in the performances, but also through what's actually being said. It's the perfect mix of the desire to give someone love and comfort, but still refusing to let your guard down to avoid being hurt again. Basically being the perfect happy medium between a song from emotion and 808s and heartbreak. And that goes for the instrumental too. It has the melancholic texture and very precise spacing that gives it a very soft, restrained feel, but with the very strong melodic foundation in that heart piano and wistful backing vocals to level out the pacing, which makes it sound like an emotionally fulfilling and content statement, not lingering on the edge of an unsure emotional state. Not that making songs around that mindset is a bad thing, it's just that Drake and Rihanna have collabed many times with tracks that don't feel cathartic or sometimes even incomplete because of this. Take Care not only gives both of them a means to an end to enhance each other's performances, but it does so in a wonderfully complex manner that you rarely see from either of them, with examples of exceptions being Marvin's Room and Desperado. That one a cappella section on the elongated bridge also sounds fantastic. It cements this track in a surreal yet raw feel, and that's what truly makes it special. So many songs from the first half of the decade are generally just unrealistically happy, preppy, and upbeat, while the second half has a cavalcade of overly depressing and solemn music. But Take Care uses both emotions to capture something beyond either. So remember a couple years ago when that song My Boo got traction from a Vine dance craze right before the app died and was replaced with TikTok? Well, apparently Mike Will Made It decided to sample that song and have Ciara sing over it, 3 years before it got big. The most accurate way I think I could describe Ciara would be a jack of all trades, master of none. She's very competent in many things and has been around for a long time, from having success in the 2000s alongside Missy Elliott, to making a future diss track that can actually stand on its own legs, to covering a Rolling Stones song, yet despite all of her twists and turns, constantly reminds me of a softer version of Beyonce. Not that any of that's a bad thing, it's just I figured she'd have a more lucrative career since she's essentially covered all the bases in a way similar to Rihanna. We all know how big she is, so why isn't Ciara a household name in the same way? I imagine it's probably because she's constantly outclassed by her contemporaries in terms of personality, or potentially that one god-awful track from 2007 that still haunts her, which makes this really stick out because this is one of the best R&B songs I can think of, this side of Alicia Keys and probably No Name. Ignoring the fact that the title of this song sounds like the name of a bad horror movie, the song itself is blissful and soothing in a way that completely transcends the sample into something far more potent. Ciara's performance is a lot more vulnerable and uniquely passionate than usual, and it shows. Other than that, there's not much to say, it's just a great R&B track with a sample that functioned way better than it probably should have. Though I will say it is hilarious hearing Future's music in the background of the music video next to the actual song.
Hi.
What you got going on around here?
Just having a good time.
I see y'all super turned up.
Oh, so you've been watching me.
What the fuck? You know you're gonna be mine, right?
Oh, is that right? How you know?
I saw it.
Really?
Yeah. Don't call me the future for no reason.
Forward in time, to view alternate futures, to see all the possible outcomes of the coming conflict.
How many did we win?
1.
But to understand the future, we have to go back in time.
I remember a time when Taylor Swift was actually good. Can we go back to that?
You got that daydream look in your eye, and I got that.
One of the many reasons 2015 is my favorite year of the decade is because it was Taylor Swift's ultimate peak, both in success and quality. 1989 was Taylor Swift owning her pop stardom, with numerous hits which, aside from this one, ranged from okay to absolutely wonderful. And style would be the standard that Taylor would never quite live up to again. The reason why so much of her material falls flat for me is because it continually feels like a cheap facade that should surprise no one by this point. Oh wow, Taylor's doing harsh and edgy dubstep now because it's 2013, I'm sure that'll have a lasting impact. Oh no, the old Taylor is dead and now she's rapping or something, I don't know.
Psych!
It was actually a ploy to maintain relevancy, and now it's soulless, sugary pop without the charm of her earlier stuff, which flops. And now in the land of Old Town Road and Billie Eilish, she has a downward spiral. What makes style so special is how raw and honest it is, yet so pristine at the same time. She's not shying away from it or lying about it. This relationship exists not for some deeper connection, but because they're both hot and it makes them look and feel good. And honestly, why not? It's probably the realest and most genuine thing Taylor has ever put out, quite frankly. As far as the sound goes, it's also among her best. The cloudy bass and the transcendent lead guitar melody play off each other splendidly. The melodies make for a masterclass of a slow burner. The gigantic synthesizer on the hook is blossoming and blooming. The vocal layering is absolutely fantastic, especially on the bridge. And Swift herself sounds so good, I could see this performance going toe-to-toe with Lorde, Florence and the Machine, or even the lead singer of Churches in terms of talent and vocal capability, who's one of the best pop singers of all time. It feels so refreshing coming back to this after all these years, and it's a perfect example on how to do shallow in a way that feels planetary. It's certainly a hard one to top.
Wish we could turn back time to the good old days.
To this day, I'm shocked 21 Pilots blew up in 2016. A band notorious for appealing to the pretentious hipster crowd became the most successful non-Canadian musicians of an entire year. Suffice to say, the Blurryface explosion was a very interesting phenomenon and a welcome one. Stressed Out was basically my musical spirit animal at the time it was big, and there were other singles with minor success from the album that were also fantastic with very diverse appeals. But no, let's go with the one from the soundtrack of an infamously awful movie.
All my friends are heathens, take it slow. Wait for them to ask you who you know.
So the weird thing is, despite the movie, the Suicide Squad soundtrack is actually really good. Skrillex has a banger, there's a G-Eazy cover that's really good, Mark Ronson did a collaboration with the Black Keys, which is pretty much a guaranteed win, but nothing comes close to the utter masterpiece that is Heathens. 21 Pilots are no strangers to sociopathic introspection, but this just takes that idea to another level. First off, the production is incredible. It honestly stands up to most of Trench and Blurryface, which is really impressive. The melody is ominous in a creepy and subtle way, which is very difficult combo to pin down. Tyler's vocals sound distraught and haunted, especially with the vocal layering, providing an extra voice that mimics Tyler at a higher octave. The creepy frog-sounding percussion, the synthetic guitar solo that's a more satisfying payoff than a lot of actual guitar solos. The piano work that's complex and tailored to perfection. There's so many neat little touches that elevate Heathens to a massive extent. But that's before you get to the lyrics. You know how the 21 Pilots fan base was known for being just the worst thing ever before Trench dropped? Well, this song sees Tyler Joseph not only recognize and address this fact, but then compares them to literal psychopathic convicts and how they both have unhealthy habits of introversion that makes the people around them as well as themselves loathe them. Pretty ballsy move if you ask me. Not a lot of people are that smart, brave, or self-aware enough to do something like that. It stood out in 2016 as being grim with a purpose instead of just dull, and that rings true for the years that followed. It definitely deserves this spot.
It looks like you might be one of us.
And to wrap up part 1, here's a few honorable mentions.
Show the lights that stop me, turn to stone, you shine me.
A lot of people praise Clean Bandit for their uniquely elegant and often fragile and vulnerable production. And while I do like Clean Bandit, I think Lights truly captures that appeal in a way those guys would never truly reach. And yeah, this is Golding's best track without a doubt.
I got my mind made up, and I can't let go. I'm killing every.
It was a welcome surprise seeing One Republic go for a darker, more sinister sound with a noticeably more eloquent pace, especially in a year as generally bland and average as 2014.
Most nights I don't know anymore.
As someone who's been exposed to more information about both world wars than any human could possibly retain, whether it be from school or the History Channel, this is by far the most vivid depiction of World War I I've ever heard in my life. Also, holy crap, Nate Russ can sing.
What I stand for, what do I stand for? And she knows, she knows.
I still have no clue why I love this so much.